Welcome to episode 37 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle are Chris, David, and Andres. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, with a special edition of the pod. Today we're diving into an exclusive interview with decorated indie vet Alfonso Gonzalez. Talk about their journey in the ring, their life outside the ring, and everything in between. And don't forget, folks, we want to hear from you. Send us your questions, thoughts, and wildest predictions to chitownshootpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll tackle them in a future episode. But with that, I want to welcome Alfonso. My friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Happy to be spending my Sunday night with all of you people. I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time we saw you, I think the last time all of us saw you was, was it the December show with Santana Jackson, or do we also go to
the... that was December.
I seen him at Wrestling Revolver on my own.
Yeah, you went to Wrestling Revolver, yeah.
It was April, I believe.
That's not the show that you lost to
early April,
is it?
No, that was a freelance in April, yeah. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like I did want to say, because we were talking with Koda back in January. We were trying to roll up the. I'll let him know. You know what? I'll just ask him to watch this show. I hope he watches it. Because you did get some. We did get. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna clip this specific part or whatever we talk about, and then I'll just tag him in it, and then he can respond.
That guy is obsessed with me. You do not need to tell him to watch this.
He's like, oh, he's like, there's a new interview with him. Oh, let me watch. Yeah, so we were debating like which one was the better match, if it was the Chavo Koda match or if it was your match with Santana, and I had a very difficult time determining which one. I think I might have said Koda's, but I couldn't help but give you like your flowers with like your Santana match, because it was just so like the kind of feeling that I got at your match was like some of the feelings that like if I go to like a Raw or a SmackDown, like you were just really good in that match, with entertaining as hell. First of all, like with the baby drop, that was great, super creative. You have great dance moves, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, like just really super entertaining. And like you've been doing this. How long have you been doing this for, would you say?
Well, wrestling matches, I debuted in 2021. I wrestled for about a year, but I needed to get surgery on my shoulder, so I took about a year off.
Okay.
So 2 years since then, I think. I don't know, my math is horrible. I didn't go to college, but I think, let's see, 21, 22. Yeah, so about 3 years, coming up on maybe a little over 3 years by now.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe that you were, when I was looking up like some stats. I'm assuming most of the cage match stuff is accurate, but I don't know. That's
there's a lot, but there's also a lot of stuff missing on there. Not every show has like been accounted for, so there's like lots of gaps where I was working either companies that aren't like on there, or people just don't know. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, things of that nature.
Only tape traders have those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've wrestled in front of like 10 people in the middle of Iowa. In a pizza place where there's nothing but like a cemetery on the other side of the street and corn both ways down the street for miles. It's like those don't get accounted for.
That's true. I guess those don't get cage match.
That's like those Lost Treasure Bret Hart dark matches and all that.
Yeah, just as good.
Yep.
It's like if nobody was there to see it, did it really happen? One of those things.
Exactly. But it doesn't feel like you wrestled for only 3 years. I honestly thought you wrestled for much longer, just because how naturally it comes to you with like the entertainment and the ring psychology. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's my thing though. About the Chavo. Here's one thing I will say about what was better about Koda and Chavo or me and Santana. When Chavo got on the mic and started cutting that promo, he started putting our match over. Even though he's in the ring with Koda, that's all I got to say.
Now that you mention it, I think that might tip it over to your.
Yeah, it might tip it over.
And I'm not just saying because you're on the interview.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, really.
I won the belt later that night, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And you just won the White Castle Championship, didn't you? I just saw that too.
This past Thursday at Ego Pro's Windy City Thunderbolt shows.
So how often do you defend? Are you going to defend that one?
Whatever. I think they just put out the schedule for the Thunderbolts. As long as I can keep winning those, I think it should. There's about 6 or 7 shows left. One is this upcoming Thursday at Ozinga Field. I don't know when this episode drops, so it might have already happened, but pretty sporadically, typically on Thursdays.
Gotcha. And is it like legit? Like, does White Castle actually sponsor, or did you guys just get a logo and there's some legal gray area here?
We spelled white different, like with one extra like e at the end to get away with it. No, it's
Whitey.
I think
Whitey Castle.
WHYTE. So what happens is White Castle sponsors the Windy City Thunderbolts, and then the Windy City Thunderbolts sponsors us. So there's some connection. So we're allowed to use it. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned, every White Castle's got to treat me like royalty now. As long as I got the belt with me. Not that I go there very often, but do go there and support the Windy City Thunderbolts.
Every castle needs a king.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
You should. I mean, you should see like if you get any perks, because honestly, I feel like that should come with it.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I'd hope so.
Belt.
They should make one your dojo for the day.
Yeah, I'd love to. I wanted to do. My dream is like that boiler room brawl with like Undertaker and Mankind or whatever.
Oh, shit.
I want to do that. I want to do that, but in a White Castle kitchen. A White Castle belt. I don't know if any White Castle let 2 half-naked strangers get in there and start brawling it out.
Yeah.
Honestly, sell tickets and just like sell out the White Castle like dining area.
Yeah.
And then just have you guys go to town in the kitchen.
Brawl around, go out in the parking lot, pour a bucket of ice in the fryer, see what happens.
Exactly. Now we're cooking.
There we go. Give me the pen.
So I guess I want to rewind a little bit and ask, how did you first get into pro wrestling as a career? Was there a moment or a match that made you want to say, this is what I want to do? Or is it a little different? How did your story start?
I don't even know if it's like a moment I can like specifically put it on, because as far as I can go back remembering, I've always loved pro wrestling because my brothers loved it and my dad like loved growing up with it in his era. So it's always been a thing like our whole family's enjoyed. Particularly trampoline wrestling with my brothers when we were really little. Just doing that is like the most fun thing ever. And it's just one of those things like, you just never grow out of. Like your love for it never really goes away. And like I'd always like struggle at those like college career nights where they're like, oh, what profession do you want to do? I was like, I don't know if there's really one thing I really wanted to commit to, but one thing I always wanted to try was wrestling at least. So the way I see it, school's always going to be around, but you're only going to be this young once in your life.
Yeah.
So instead of living with regret, it's like you might as well go all in now while you can, while your body's still moving pretty decently, not too old and beat up. So yeah, it's 2020. I finally pulled the trigger and I signed up for the Freelance Wrestling Academy. It's also like when the world shut down too, so it's like even harder to get in. Yeah, exactly. Perfect time. But that just shows like the dedication and like willingness to not quit and like not step down. I could have just been like, oh, it's not meant to be or whatever. The world's over. But I was like, no, I'm gonna just keep emailing them. And they finally accepted it. And then the rest is like history, I guess, as they say. Just stuck with it ever since, trying my hardest.
And when did you first start watching pro wrestling? Was there any specific like wrestler that you gravitated towards? Anyone that kind of inspired you?
The first one, definitely. I mean, it's the t-shirt. It was Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I think any kid sees Rey Mysterio, they like instantly fall in love with like the look, the moves, the entrance, like getting shot out of the stage, the fireworks and everything. I don't remember. I think it's hard looking back and trying to remember. I remember we'd have DVDs that we would watch a lot of. Earliest memories, I remember watching live when Kurt Angle got chokeslammed by Big Show over the like the railing, and he had that little puddle of blood. Yeah, it terrified me. I was like, what is this? But those are the things that hook you, that stick with you, and you're like, I have to see what happens next. So I remember that. I remember watching. We had like the best WWE Championship match DVDs. We would always watch that, and then as soon as it says "Don't try this at home," we'd go outside and try it at home.
Yeah, it was just a legal thing for them to cover their butt, but they knew that most people were probably trying it at home in some form or fashion. not necessarily jumping off from a roof to, you know, a solid table, but, you know.
No, never that crazy.
So in terms of like your persona, I guess I kind of want to know like how you created or how your character came to be in terms in like I guess you have a dojo,
Yeah,
and it feels like almost Karate Kid a little bit. I don't know if that's where you were inspired by, but
very much so. I think it all comes to my second day of training ever. Was because the school used to be at Pro Wrestling Tees, and Danhausen was filming a promo video there, and he just pulled up, and like you just see him like doing his thing or whatever, and then afterwards he stayed and answered a bunch of questions, and now my question to him was like what inspired his character, and then he gave me the great advice of like look away from wrestling when you're looking for inspiration for your character, because if you're looking towards wrestling, that means it's already been done. So that means you'll just be like, oh, he's just like another Kurt Angle or another Rey Mysterio or another like Eddie Guerrero or whatnot. So like he talked about how, you know, Conan and like The Simpsons, things like that were his inspiration. So things that I started looking to is what characters in like media, movies, and TV that I would like connect with, and I always loved the kind of like the lovable losers that like thought they were really cool, but in reality they're kind of like not, like Dwight Schrute in The Office or Uncle Rico and Napoleon Dynamite. And then at that time, Cobra Kai, the revival series kind of Karate Kid, showing Johnny Lawrence as like a washed up deadbeat getting back into karate, just stuck in his old times, thinking he's still the man, even though like by all accounts he's a loser and like a failure in life. But he doesn't let that bother him. He's got his like little dojo in the strip mall. That was like the biggest inspiration for like the Team Alfonso like dojo gimmick. But then like for personality traits, definitely like Dwight, Uncle Rico, and Johnny Lawrence.
How many people are currently in your dojo right now?
As of right now, if you ask, it depends where I'm at. Typically, most of the time, it's going to be just me. I think in history, there's been maybe one other person. Kylie Rae was in it for like a month, and then we lost a tag title match, so I kicked her out immediately, and then I choked her out with my black belt. Yeah, even though I'm pretty sure I'm the one that took the pin in the match, but it was her fault.
You should ask Kylie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I think that'd be great. I think that'd be great if you had like a stable of just like all your dojo members, just like
all the alums come back.
Yeah, exactly. Put their thumb on the scale a little bit. That's awesome. And you mentioned movies. Like, are you really into movies as a passion? Is there any kind of movie that you kind of gravitate towards? Any genre?
I love them. One thing besides wrestling, I think the thing I love most would be movies. Types of my favorite movies, I love underdog movies, obviously Karate Kid, the original Rocky, even all the Rockies besides the fifth one I love. I love also this movies that are about like people and their passion. Like a great example for wrestling, obviously like Iron Claw, based on a true story, obviously, but like how far people are willing to go for the things they love. Another good one, Whiplash, about the jazz drummer. It's one of my favorite movies. It's about like how far are you willing to push yourself to become the best at your field that you can be, and then like what could be considered too far. So like movies that get you thinking about stuff like that, or that question you, where like you can put yourself in that position, like how far would I go to be like the best, things like that. But then I love everything. I love comedies, I love action. Obviously, I think I get a lot of my comedic timing for wrestling from movies or TV. Like I'll typically try and do things in beats of 3, because I think things are just funnier in 3. Like miss something, somebody gets me with it the third time, some stuff like that.
That's awesome. And I mean, like I've seen your vignettes, and we kind of talked a little bit about with camera guy Nick about filming the vignette. Can you give me some background to that? I think that was the one where you were doing it in the playground too.
Yeah,
that
was funny.
You got some backstory to that?
That I think was more so like I always wanted to film like a cheap looking infomercial kind of gimmick, and I was like, this would be a fun way to tie it into wrestling. At least make it look part infomercial for my fake dojo or real dojo, whatever you want to call it. And then part like, oh, here's like an idea to send people. Like, if you don't understand the Team Alfonso or Alfonso Gonzalez gimmick, watch this video and you'll probably have a good understanding of my vibe and character and what I'm going for typically. But yeah, that playground was pretty fun because I think he had posted it at one point. When I tried jumping off the swing, I got like 0 air and I landed about 2 inches in front of the swing. And then we had to redo it because I would just say right away, I was like, I got no air. We have to redo it. And there was like a family there too, and I'm just in my purple tights. And I'm like,
was there anybody there?
We tried going at a time when there would be nobody, and there was just like a couple with their daughter. And then we just right away, we're like, the camera guy Nick's girlfriend was there, and we're like, you're the most normal person here. Like, can you just go explain what's going on here? That we're just filming a quick shot, and then we're gonna leave, go somewhere else. So I mean, yeah, that was fun. I love filming videos, and if I could give any advice to any wrestlers, like even I don't do it as much as I'd love to. It's just a time thing. But I'd say film as much, like whether it be promos or skits or vignettes or whatever, and put as much of it out there because it gives so many people that don't know you. Maybe they see you on a match announcement, and they're like, "Oh, who is this guy? Let me click on his page." Oh, they could see some like more personality from you, get them more attached. You give them a knowledge and understanding of who you are before they go to a show and actually see you.
Yeah, because I mean, like the thing that really sticks out in freelance with you is that you are such like a unique wrestler. You are someone that is, I don't want to say like marketable. I mean, yes, marketable, and just very entertaining. Like you check all the boxes for me personally. What I look for in a wrestler. So I really hope that you get a WWE ID contract.
I appreciate you,
because that'd be great.
I appreciate that. I'm just taking everything one step at a time. That's the way I always see it, is what's tangible that I can get done in front of me. Like getting the Freelance Wrestling Championship, that was huge.
Yeah.
And then now it's just trying to see what big matchups I can get and keep getting better. I feel like one of the best way to get better is to work people that are better than you. So upping the competition, trying to get on companies. Like I was able to get on Revolver, hopefully get on other big shows around the Midwest. Spread the name.
And I guess kind of going back to like your promos and vignettes, like how do you approach them creatively? Do you talk with Nick about it, or like what's your vision with it, or do you just kind of like shoot from the hip and be like, all right, let's try this, see if it works?
I think a good majority of it will be when I'm driving around, I'll try and think of ideas. I almost fell. I'll think of ideas. I look around like me just driving by that playground and be like, it'll be funny. I filmed at that playground, a couple different playgrounds, but like, it's not a great look, especially with the mustache. But I'll typically see something and it sparks an idea, and I'll think like, oh, I could do something there. Then when camera guy Nick comes over, he's a very creative person too. So I'll like run the idea by him, give like the rough draft of like, I'll probably say this, do this. And then he'll come in with like, it'll be funny too if you do this. And I'll be like, that is good. I could do that. Add this, that, there. And then his editing too. At least with that vignette, he helped add in so many funny little Easter eggs and details. So like we work really well with each other. It's gotten to the point where it's like I can't film a promo without camera guy Nick because that's how good he is.
Yeah.
And like I would never. I think the old promos I would do on my iPhone, they have a certain amount of charm to them from me getting buddies to film it that don't know how to film. They're filming like from my chest up and there's like 5 feet above my head. You could just see and it's like not centered at all and whatnot. So like, those had their own charm, but like now it's like, I don't want to have to go back. We just work too well together.
Do I remember it? Did you actually like drink raw egg yolk?
Yeah, I did. It was the most disgusting thing ever. I don't know how people do it. It just felt like slimy salt.
Ugh.
And it was just so gross. I immediately like just gagged and like just throwing it up on the outside. Actually, it's funny because I tried it before when I was like in high school too, and I forgot how bad it was. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just do it for a bit, and then I did, and it was so bad. It was horrible.
So in terms of Yeah, Andres, go ahead.
No, I've done it sometimes in a rush going to work. Not gonna lie.
That's crazy.
Way braver than I am.
In a rush and you don't throw up?
He's in a rush.
I
So he
mean,
doesn't have time
it
to
sucks.
react.
Yeah, it's not. It's not, you just kind of power through and just pray. Like, okay, 1 down, 2. I think I do 2 is like my limit. I think that's when I'll stop.
Okay.
But
I tried 3. I got like 1.5 down. Maybe do you break them up?
no, I usually put them all like in a glass like this, and then like I'll go for the first one, and then I'll give it a second. I'll go for the second one. I never do like all at once. You know?
Just thinking about it's giving me like the Vietnam flashbacks. I can just feel it in my throat and tongue again.
Enjoy your salmonella, man.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the price of eggs nowadays. I don't know. I can keep doing that.
Are you accepting pupils at your dojo?
That's something I always wanted to do. I've been meaning to print out applications, and then I was going to write at the bottom, tournament at the merch table. If you win, then I'll take you seriously. But I mean, I think depending what company now, I think I've become a bit of a nicer person at freelance. So I think I'll become a little more open to it in the future. I mean, I have no idea what opportunities will come from that, but majority of other places, I'm always accepting it. But I'll probably never answer it or accept it. You know what I mean? I'll take in applications for sure. If they want to pay for the $50 free trial, absolutely.
So Isaiah Velasquez did basically kick you in the nuts after that loss to Devon. Can you explain what's going on there? Because I think you're actually wrestling him at Freelance versus the World, right?
Yeah, Freelance versus the World 11. This Isaiah Velasquez, my first ever trainer in professional wrestling back in 2020, he was there day one. My first ever day in the ring, taught me everything, how to roll around, how to run the ropes. Pretty much, I give 2 people credit for like the most credit, I should say, for what I am in the ring. There's obviously many hands that have helped out, but it would be him and Mustafa Ali. But with him, starting back last July at Freelance Wrestling, he was lined up with Sabin Gage and Storm Grace, and they were kind of running roughshod, and they were kind of getting walked all over. So I provided my services to them. They didn't accept me for a while until I won the Freelance Championship. Then I was good enough. And I finally thought I had friends in my corner. I thought the team of 1 could finally possibly expand to 3. And they interfered in my match with Koda Hernandez in February, which I didn't like. I wanted to do that one all on my own. I won. They said I was being ungrateful. So I made it clear that I didn't want any interference in April against Devon Monroe. I wanted to prove that this wasn't a fluke that I won the world title, and that I can hang in there on my own when the lights are on, when all the eyes are on me. And Isaiah couldn't listen. He interfered. He ends up kicking me in the head. Devon ends up winning, and that was okay. That's stuff I could live with. But then he starts jumping Devon. I said, no, give Devon his moment. He won fair and square because he didn't listen to me. And it would be fine knowing that I still have my best friends. But then he goes and does that, low blows me, taking advantage of me when I'm already a vulnerable person, and then leaves me high and dry. That's too much. So come May, last month already, I see him about to take advantage of Steve Boz. I go and make the save. Don't even lay a finger on him. Just giving him a warning. Stay away from him. Leave the man alone. Give the man his flowers. Obviously, the man's a local legend. And then I go and enter the Rumble. I make it to the final 3. Doing my own thing. Working my way back to the Freelance Wrestling World title. The way I want to do it. And then he comes in and he can't let bygones be bygones. Eliminates me. So now we're all set up. It's been 5 years in the making now since he was my first ever wrestling trainer. First time ever in a singles matchup 1-on-1. A match that I am very much looking forward to. A match that I've wanted since day one. First day I ever did practice matches, I did one against him. So it's something I've wanted for such a long time, and we're finally getting it, and I can't wait for the freelance fans to get to be able to see it. I can assure you they won't be disappointed.
I'm definitely excited to see that match for sure. And you mentioned you were trained by Isaiah and Mustafa Ali. So how is that, like, what does that look like for you when you're being trained by them? Is it like you get trained by Isaiah first and then Mustafa Ali, or do they kind of like work together? What did that look like when they were training you?
Well, what it would work with is typically, excuse me, this was when Mustafa Ali started showing up at the Freelance Wrestling Academy. I forget what year it was, but I remember he had requested his release, I think from WWE, and they didn't grant it to him. So they just sent him home. But since he was home, he's a great person. He would come train us at the Freelance Wrestling Academy with all of his free time. Like, instead of just sitting at home doing nothing, he still wanted to stay active. So Isaiah would like warm us up, and he would kind of roam in a little bit later. And then Isaiah would take like the beginners and intermediates more in one ring, and whoever was more advanced, he would just like give to Ali. So Ali would do his more advanced drills. And then we just roll around with him until he needed to go home, pretty much.
Yeah. How would you compare their training styles like to each other?
One thing, Ali definitely he gets more intricate because since classes would get separated, he would have the people that can do a little bit more complicated things. So he would be more like spots with more longer spots with more complicated moves. Isaiah, I'll give him credit for. He understands how important strength and conditioning is. So a lot of that training is like repetition, getting your form right, making sure speed comes later, and making sure you have like the gas and cardio to go in a wrestling match. And then he also does like spots as well, but not as complicated because he has to teach all the beginners, newer people that have just signed up, stuff that everybody can kind of do, but it's still good to get multiple reps in.
Yeah. And you did mention that, I mean, we saw it, that was wild that you won the belt from Kylie Rae back in December. What's going through your head in that moment when you won the belt?
Honestly, the whole time, what was going through my entire head was one, to not trip down the stairs when I run down there, because I typically don't run down the stairs. Yeah. And then two, when I slide in, to not clip my legs on anything on the ring so I can get in. Honestly, I think everything kind of flashes through my head because, like I told you guys, I needed a year off of surgery. And it was unfortunate because I came off of like nearly a year-long storyline with Kylie Rae. And that's kind of the thing you'd want to capitalize on, but I couldn't ignore my shoulder injury anymore, so I had to go under the knife, just get it taken care of before anything gets worse. So just that, missing out. Obviously, I'm super happy I got to see my friends do it, but it just hurts so much more when you're not out there getting to do the thing you love. Obviously, helping out wherever I could. So just like from like kind of climbing up, and then getting it all taken away, realizing it could be gone real quick, and then having to work your way back through the scrambles, whatnot, until there's, a position available. And if you could step up and rise to the occasion, things like that just started working well. So, I mean, just everything was kind of going through from like my first day starting there. I remember Kylie was champion when I first signed up for the school, and all the stuff we'd done in the ring before. So like the fact that it was her, like, made it kind of extra special too.
Yeah. So how did you injure your shoulder anyway?
It's just one of those freak accidents. It's always something dumb. I was in a multi-man matchup and I threw a punch and it just got blocked. And I think I threw it too hard and it was blocked too hard. So when you hit it back, my shoulder just popped out of the socket in front. Mm-hmm. And I'm moving and I can't even lift my arm up above like 45 degrees. And I was able to finish the spot. And then when I roll out on my shoulder, I feel it pop back in and I'm like moving it around. I'm like, okay, I think it's back. And then it had just popped out again at training a couple months later. And then at another show a few months after that. So I was like, I can't ignore it. I can't have something that unpredictable, especially like when people are putting their lives in my hands in the ring. It's not something you want to, walk around with. Like, I don't want to have to pick somebody up and, because my shoulder popped out, I accidentally may have dropped somebody, something like that. It's those things you can't ignore.
Yeah. And you mentioned, I mean, like you have been in a number of scrambles, and that always seems to be super, like there's a lot of chaotic energy that I feel like goes into like a scramble match. What's your strategy kind of going into a match like that?
Well, if you watch a majority of the scrambles, I talk too much right away and get laid out immediately.
Yeah.
That's typically how they'll start.
Classic.
I think the best strategy is look around, be realistic. Maybe I wasn't being realistic when I called out Sam Holloway and Darius Luttrell at the same time, and they both double chopped me and knocked me out. It's all about picking your moments, looking at what's going on in the ring. How can you take advantage? Because it's just first pinfall or submission. With a match that chaotic, people get distracted, lose track of what's going on, who's in the ring, who's weak, who's not. You just got to be on your toes at all times.
Yeah. And in terms of, we talk about how, how entertaining you are, and in terms of like your connection with the crowd, in terms of like your own personal philosophy towards wrestling, what do you think is the most important part in a wrestling match? Do you feel like it's the moves? Do you feel like it's the connection with the crowd? What do you think? What do you think kind of rises above the rest when it comes to
I think it definitely has to be the connection with the crowd, because I can go out there and I could do an elaborate chain sequence for whatever, like I'm 45 seconds to a minute. Maybe it'll get some reaction. But if I can just go out there, insult my opponent for something, maybe they're wearing, or somebody yells something at me and I get them back immediately, that can get just as much or if not better reaction from the crowd. And we didn't have to like do anything. I always think, what is the best way to get the crowd invested or behind me and my opponent in a matchup as soon as possible? Because if you don't give them a reason to care, they just won't. We live in the era of cell phones and social media. If they get bored, people are going to flip to their phones as quick as they can. It's about catching the fans' interest and keeping it is a real hard part. So that's why like that opening is always so important. That's why I'm always talking during my entrances. I'm always trying to say something, get people riled up, get them to at least feel something, do something. So, I mean, that connection with the crowd is by far the most important thing.
Do you get nervous before your matches?
I don't know. It's weird. Like sometimes, but I think I get nervous as soon as the song hits. But then as soon as I go out the curtain, it's like you don't have time to be nervous.
Yeah.
I think
you can't tell.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
Oh yeah. No, I just get in the mentality where it's like, just got to give it all now. I got to go 110%. Like you can't go back now. Once you go out the curtain, there's no turning back. Yeah. It's like the mentality of whatever happens, happens. If things maybe don't go according to plan, use it as a learning experience. If things go great, good. You weren't nervous. You were ready.
In terms of, I guess, because I feel like the current state of indie wrestling has been very good, and I don't know if it's kind of like a residual effect because wrestling became. I feel like it reached a new, like, I mean, in WWE they call it like the Renaissance era and all that stuff, and I feel like maybe there was this residual effect that kind of also affected basically like local indie wrestling, because I feel like you guys have been selling out shows pretty consistently too. How do you feel about the current state of wrestling, indie wrestling, or maybe even just locally in Chicago?
Oh yeah, I think we're right now there's such an abundance of talent out there. There's always going to be talent. I think what makes indie wrestling so special right now is things like this podcast, or just social media, whatever other interview shows. Like the fans and the wrestlers can be closer than ever now. And like you can always have that connection, whether you're posting online or, like, oh, I'm going to be in so and so, like now you know where I'm going to be. You can promote new merch items. Like it's so much better now than I can imagine what it would have had to have been like 20 years ago on the come up, where it's like more so word of mouth. Like, oh, there's indie wrestling like here and here this time or whatever. So, I mean, there's always going to be great talent. Like we're always, especially here in the Midwest, we're so spoiled. In Chicago, we're like right in the center. I feel like you could drive up to Minnesota, you can go to Wisconsin, Ohio's not too crazy far. You can go to Indiana, St. Louis. Like we're like right in the middle of this Midwest wrestling scene. And Chicago itself, so many different companies like popping up, coming up, new ones that have been established. Like we're fortunate enough to be selling out every show at Freelance this year. It's like we're spoiled, and I think a good majority of the indie wrestlers right now know it too.
Yeah. And are you originally from San Diego?
Yeah, I was born in San Diego. Lived in like Los Angeles suburbs, kind of moved around until I was like halfway through second grade, and I moved out here towards Chicago. But I pretty much say like, yeah, technically I was born in California, but I definitely feel more like a Chicago person. I did most of my growing up here, is what I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you could, if you like feel like there's a difference between. Have you seen like indie matches and that kind of stuff that
Oh yeah, of
in
course.
Los Angeles area?
Yeah, of course. You got West Coast Pro, like all the West Coast companies. I think the farthest out west I've gone to is I wrestled in Vegas
Yeah.
for Grab House this past Mania weekend, which was a blast. I'd love to wrestle in California, obviously, because I still have a lot of family out there, whether it be LA or San Diego. I got family in both. If I could find anywhere to wrestle out there, that would be great for them to be able to get to see. Yeah, but you know how we have the Midwest kind of bubble here. I think the West Coast kind of have their bubble too. Like, you know, the drives from there all around there. They have like their talent, great abundance of talent in the West Coast as well.
Do you feel like there's a difference in like in terms of like an audience culture, like in a freelance show versus like a show that you wrestle in Vegas? Do you feel like there's any difference, or do you feel like the vibes are pretty similar?
Honestly, I've been fortunate enough I had a great response in Vegas, which I was like, this is going to sound so weird, but like I wanted it to be harder because I was like, okay, this is great. A brand new state, a brand new city, brand new company, never wrestled here. They have no idea who I am. And I was like, I hope it gets harder. And then I was just being obnoxious Alfonso as always, and then immediately they start booing, getting the Nacho Libre chants, all the same old good stuff I get here. And I was like, man, I wish it was a little harder to get them riled up because I really wanted to like challenge myself. So I mean, yeah, I mean that company was very, very similar crowds. That's one thing that's so special about freelance though, is we have our own kind of built-in audience. You have the fans that'll go to whatever shows in the Midwest, but we have some fans that like have only come to freelance and like it's like the only wrestling show they'd ever seen and they just stuck around, which I think is really special.
I agree. And you mentioned like you wanted a challenge in terms of like an audience who maybe not be your strategy to try and kind of dial it up to 11 if they weren't really giving you the time of day.
Yeah, I think it would be like if maybe I'm trying to do the goofy thing and the crowd's not that into the goofy thing, try and maybe just be more witty, more like dickish, things like that. That's what I say. Like you always got to stay on your toes. I treat every show I go to as if the crowd has never seen me before because I never want to get too comfortable and just assume I'm going to get a reaction because that's going to be like the one time you don't. Then you look like kind of like an ass, like, oh, I'm the man or whatever, and you don't get that reaction.
And you are very witty. So I was going to ask, do you still interview in your underwear? Is that just unique to the wrestling situation?
Today I got the short shorts on. I was almost in my underwear, but I was like, I'll keep the short shorts on. I almost dropped my camera too, so thank goodness I got the shorts.
So yeah, I mean, like we kind of talked about it earlier, but I did want to ask about your podcast. But before we get into the podcast, I guess I want to ask how the friendship of Koda Hernandez and yourself and Robert Ego Anthony came to be.
Yeah, that's such an interesting one because I don't even know how like the trio came together. I know how Koda and I came together because he was training at the Freelance Wrestling Academy. He was more experienced. This isn't even a joke. When I saw him, I thought this guy was like almost 40. just the way he was moving and how he was like teaching. Because he'd been wrestling since he was like 10 years old and he's like 24 or 5 or something.
Yeah.
So the way he's moving around and his beard and everything, because I couldn't grow a full beard. I could barely get the mustache going. So I was like, yeah, this guy's got to be pushing 40. And then I find out his age. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this guy's younger than me. So I think that friendship, it's so funny because we have such little in common really outside of wrestling, but we act very similar. As much as he likes to say I'm more so the immature one, when he's really immature, he's way more immature than I would say, than I am. But that's just one of those things. I think what really mostly like attracted us to each other was the fact that we're both extremely hard workers when it comes to training. And like we have like the friendly competition thing going. If he can do something that I can't, I'll try my hardest to be able to do that and vice versa. And then Rob Rob was the freelance wrestling champ. He won the belts when I kind of started getting on the shows.
Yeah.
So I think he won it. The show I had my first match with Kylie. I believe it's December 2021.
Yeah.
And we weren't really close with Rob. Rob was, he's an old man. He's like a grumpy old man just sitting in the corner at all the shows.
Generation.
Yeah, exactly. He's giving off that energy like, don't bother me. Like, let me mope in peace. And he would book us, because I remember he used to book Berwyn Championship Wrestling. He would book us sporadically, and we'd kind of just joke around with him then. Nothing too crazy, though. And it wasn't until he started running his farm shows we got closer, because we're like hanging out after, and the baseball shows as well. And then like once he kind of got the opportunity to like get the Forge and whatnot, we'd been talking more so, like I'd say we were more friends at that time. And then just like Koda, Hernandez, and myself, we kind of pushed how we push each other. We pushed him. We're like, just go all in on your own thing, man. Like Ego Pro kind of started off as a joke, but then looking at it now, he's got shows like everywhere. He's doing the Olympia Field shows. He's got the Forge. He's got the Dome in Shorewood. He's got the baseball. Joliet Slammers is coming up. So I think Koda and I pushed him the most to like just go full throttle on Ego Pro, and that's kind of how we all came together. And same with like the podcast, how you brought up. We're like, why'd you stop doing the podcast? And then like we would always push him to do it. And he's just like, well, why don't you guys just do it with me? And we're like, all right. And putting our money where our mouth is. We've been doing episodes for like, I think like maybe half a year almost at this point. Every Sunday we record, put it out every Friday.
Yeah, I think, where did you guys get the inspiration for that graphic? Because it kind of reminds me of Mucha Lucha a little bit.
That's exactly what we said. Yeah. Yeah, we just stole it. Koda has a friend of his that does artwork. So we're like, can you just make all three of us like this? And that's where we got it from. Which is funny because none of us really do lucha. Rob used to, but he's too old for that now.
Yeah.
Makes it more perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, were we cutting in on your podcast record since we are?
Oh, no, I made sure we did that at noon. I like to get it done earlier, so I got like kind of the later time open, and then obviously I wanted to make sure I could make time for you guys here today. Yeah. So we did it at noon in his garage this time.
Nice.
Do you guys normally record like together?
Yeah. We'll all drive up to Egos. Lately we've been kind of meeting at random venues. Like we were at Olympia Fields, because we were able to get some buddies of ours rooms that live in Iowa. They had 2 shows back to back, so we're like, oh, it works out. We'll just get you guys a hotel room at Olympia, and then we'll get to record in between. And then we also recorded at Hollywood Boulevard Cinema in Woodridge, because our good friend of our show, Hollywood Joe, hooked us up with like a party room there, so we were able to record in there. Just remember, we might be recording at the Windy City Thunderbolts some point this year as well, in a little box suite they have.
Nice. I did listen to your episode on Friday.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. I did want to ask, did you guys end up seeing it? Did you go with Koda to see the Lilo and Stitch movie, or did he go in his onesie himself? We all went together right after the party room. We went to go see it, and then we got a little tour of Hollywood Boulevard Cinemas. They have like a little film museum with like props or whatnot they were able to get their hands on in costumes, which was fun. That's awesome. It's
so funny because I saw Koda have a chain match and he's bleeding everywhere, and then 2 days later he's dressed in a onesie, like about to cry watching Lilo and Stitch. I was like, damn, dude, this is fake, right?
Man, talk about, honestly, that's like a completely different, like, talk about night and day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, duality of man.
Yeah, that is a duality of man right there. He just had a bloody match, and then he has a Stitch onesie.
Yeah, and he got 2 separate collectible popcorn buckets of Lilo and Stitch, and the collector cup.
What was the collectible popcorn bucket? Was it like
there was one? It's almost not life size, but it's pretty big. Like when we saw it, it's like a Stitch holding a pineapple that's like cut open, and you put the popcorn in the pineapple. And then there's another one that's like a Stitch plushie that you can like Velcro onto a container. It looks kind of more like a tiki and whatnot. And then just like some cup with like some green liquid that kind of looks like when his ships lands on Earth or something like that. I don't really remember. I mean, when I see it with all these live action remakes, it's like I'd rather just watch the original. It's like it's fine, I guess, but you lose some of that charm that was in the animation when it goes to live action. Like simple things as like Lilo and Stitch being the only animated movie, the original one I should say, to have like watercolor like backgrounds. It gives it so much more life as opposed to seeing like a CGI like shot on film just kind of look gray and muddy. It just loses something. I think for fans, if they really love the movie, they'll have fun. But for more casual ones, I'd rather just watch the original.
I agree, and I guess that kind of goes for not every remake, because I think there are certain remakes of movies that are done well, or certain things that are retold. Because I feel like horror is really good. A good example of like, well, they've done Dracula like 20 times, but there are like multiple versions that are really good. And like but to your point, like with like the Disney stuff, I do agree with you there. And honestly, I can go the route and say it's a cynical, like, well, we don't ran out of creative ideas, kind of like make a real live action CGI version of all of our animated movies.
Yeah, just cash grab.
Yeah. How do you feel about that personally? Do you like any of those remakes? Or
not
really.
I think I mean, yeah, I can enjoy parts of some of them, but it always just boils down to like I just rather watch the original.
Yep.
Like I thought Will Smith, for how much backlash he got, he did a decent job being the genie. He wasn't trying to be Robin Williams. At least he tried to do his own thing with it. But then again, it's like I'd rather just watch the original one if I have to pick one. That Lion King one has got to be like probably the worst example because there's no actors and no anything. It's all CG. And the reason the original animation has such like character and like life to it is that you can animate their faces. And then when you take photorealistic animals and try and like tell the same story, they can only tell so much emotion with like their faces, like their dead eyes. I mean, I'm not totally against remakes. Like one of my favorite movies, is a horror movie, is a remake. John Carpenter's The Thing. It's like amazing. Remake of what is it? The Thing from Another Planet or from Another World.
Yeah.
That's what I always say with Hollywood. If you're going to remake something that wasn't, say, necessarily great, so your chances of making it better are higher.
Yeah. I agree with that. I'm trying to think, like the new God, or I guess it's not new-ish. Godzilla, was it -0?
Minus one. That one's amazing.
That would like see that was like an example of like, okay, here's a almost 100-year-old property, and you created this movie that was, I mean, it was amazing. It was probably the best Godzilla movie that ever came out. Maybe that's blasphemous, but I do think it was a really good movie.
I'd agree. I thought it was amazing. That's the thing. It's like you can call that, I guess, more of an artistic retelling of the story, because like that's where you have a director that's got a certain vision. Like people can look at it. Like look at Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining. He saw something. He's in the book. And he's like, but I think I can tell it in a different way. And he changed a lot of things, but it's considered a classic. I think the same thing with this Godzilla -1, where I forgive me, I don't remember the director's name, but definitely had a certain vision of like how he can retell this story that's been told so many times. As opposed to then you look at the American ones where they're like, we'll just make it kind of cartoony, whatever, just so like people go out, we can make a quick buck. It's very different. But to be fair, like Godzilla's, even the old Japanese ones, they kind of jumped the shark multiple times, definitely, and became cartoony.
60s, 70s for sure.
Yeah. I love them all. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it must.
Godzilla.
I was just gonna say it's something special that you're invested in the human characters in this specific version of like Godzilla movie. That it made it work versus like other ones. You're like, all right, why are there people in here? Just like start destroying stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like the other ones, it gets to the point where you're just rooting for Godzilla. You're like, I hope he takes all these people out. They're
Right.
so boring, so useless. I remember I was so disappointed in the 2014 Godzilla movie because Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, he's like the one character that has like a connection because like the Muto monsters, killed his wife, and everybody thinks he's crazy because he believes in all this. And you're rooting for him, and then he just dies like right away in the beginning. Yeah. And you just got to follow his boring son the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
That has no attachment to this. He just kind of like, I guess I'll go track down this monster because I don't know. I guess my dad wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was like a little. I liked it, but yeah, I was like, you have like Bryan Cranston in your Godzilla movie, and then you basically kill him off in the first. Is it even half?
Like third?
Yeah, first third of the movie. That was a waste.
Yeah,
he's riding off the heels.
I remember enjoying it too. Yeah. Oh, Breaking Bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
I
love Breaking Bad. It's so good.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
just rewatched it not too long ago. It's so good.
It was a dark movie too. Godzilla's like visually, it was a very like just dark movie. It was hard to see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then Gareth Edwards was like doing a little bit of subverting too. Like they didn't get to any of the Godzilla action until like the very end, which like typically I wouldn't care, but the fact that the human characters were so boring, it's like, to just give me something.
Which Godzilla was it where, because I kept using this GIF, or do you say GIF or GIF? I don't know.
I think I say GIF.
So like, which one was the one where he puts like sunglasses on his head? Which is that? That's a movie in the 60s probably, right?
Or I think it might be a commercial.
Yeah, that was a commercial.
I think so, yeah.
What was he promoting? Like a soda or something?
Sprite, probably.
Something. Something like that, yeah. Because I don't know if the government would invest in making sunglasses big enough for a kaiju. That's all. Right, it's got to be. I love the meme of him, Godzilla dunking a basketball is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I never have any good context to share it, but I love that image so much.
Yes.
Did you like the one? Was it Godzilla 2000 with Matthew Broderick?
I did see that 98, I think.
98. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one not so much.
Yeah,
you could tell that was Roland Emmerich, director of Independence Day. He was definitely like he loves making blockbusters, and then like the second half of that movie just kind of turns into a Jurassic Park knockoff with all the baby Godzillas just trying to recreate the magic of the Velociraptors from Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just one where it didn't pay enough respect to the original. It just kind of took the name and they're like, we'll just do our own thing. It looked nothing like Godzilla. And that's why in Godzilla Final Wars, that's what actually like inspired the Japanese filmmakers and like studios. They're like, all right, because they were done with Godzilla for like a little bit, and then they saw how bad the American one was, and they came back. They made Godzilla 2000, where he fights Orga, and then they made Godzilla, I think, Final Wars, where Godzilla fights like every monster, including the American Godzilla.
Yeah,
and he just one shots the American Godzilla with his tail into the Sydney Opera House and then blows him up and kills him in like 2 seconds.
So badass.
It's great.
Squash.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, which one was this? I feel like I need to watch this one.
Oh yeah, Godzilla Final Wars.
Final Wars. Okay.
That one's great. And now what's cool about that one is I think it's like the only Godzilla movie that also has like the human characters. There's also like hand-to-hand fighting and like martial arts fights too. So there's action between the monsters and the humans.
Cool.
Looks.
What did you think of the new? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I remember seeing the one with Matthew Broderick even as a kid and being like, "This is not good. Like, what is this?"
Yeah. It's not. You have and you have all the helicopters just chasing Godzilla through New York, and there's like 20 helicopters flying way too close in between all these skyscrapers. You're like, there's no way, and they could just fly above and follow him that way. Just look down.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Did that one have like Godzilla eggs too, or am I hallucinating?
Yes, yeah, that is one in Madison Square Garden, I think.
Yeah,
there's all the eggs, and then there's like a cliffhanger, where one egg survived.
And
teasing a sequel. I think they made like a cartoon show. I used to watch it with my little cousin.
I do remember
because he was really into Godzilla.
Show.
Yeah. If anything, I'd say the show was probably better.
Yeah. For sure. What did you think of the new Jurassic Park trilogy?
Oh man, it's just this one's heartbreaking. I think this has got to be the biggest franchise, in my opinion, with like the least quality of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've taken that first movie so far. I know a lot of people love the Lost World. I like a lot of parts of the Lost World, some of it, but nothing's ever going to be at the level of that first one, the original Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park
Right.
3, at least it's kind of fun. People enjoy it. I've got some problems with it, with like the characters and whatever, but at least it's innocent enough to where it's just, it's short, it's quick. It's just an entertaining movie, I guess you could call it. Then like that first Jurassic World, it's kind of more so the same. It's like just another legacy sequel where they're like, we'll just kind of tell the same story. They'll change enough about it. I don't think they really brought anybody back for that one. I guess like I think BD Wong returned for like a couple of scenes. And I remember I was talking to my brother about it. I was so baffled when I saw the second Jurassic World in theaters that was the direction they decided to like take it in. Where like halfway through, you're spending the whole movie in like a mansion.
The
With all these
freak
like
dinosaur.
I was like, this is like you could have paid me $1 billion and I would have never come up with an idea like that. That's where the Jurassic Park franchise would go. They have all these cartoon villainous evil people auctioning off dinosaurs underground.
Yeah.
How big is this mansion that they can keep all these dinosaurs?
The Raptor was gonna do Steiner math, genetic freak, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd spend more money for Scott Steiner than I would for a dinosaur. and then the third one just focused on like super locusts more than dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They almost like no sell the fact that dinosaurs are out in the real world. It's like not that big. I don't know. That's why I go into these movies just more so for entertainment than like looking for quality films, because nothing's ever going to top that first one. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
can't beat it.
It's definitely a classic. Like you said, like the world, like it was good, but it is basically just kind of like an echo of the original, and it's kind of like how I felt with The Force Awakens a little bit, because like you have a new character that's great, but then you're still using the same plot device with like a giant destroying, you gotta blow up a type object,
Yeah, you gotta stop that, and then you have to everybody's chasing a droid just like A New Hope.
Right.
Like they're chasing R2 with the plans to destroy it. They're chasing BB-8 with the map to Luke Skywalker, which I always thought was dumb. Is like, why would he leave behind a map if he wanted to be? Because then in The Last Jedi, he's like, oh, I went away to be hidden. They just ignore the fact that I left a map to find me.
Right.
Just in case.
Just in case. That's one of my biggest, I think, disappointments is that Disney just definitely got too greedy. And they're like, we need to rush out a Star Wars trilogy as fast as possible. Like they should have just taken their time, come up with like a quality, like an ideas of what they're gonna do, like for 7, 8, and 9. Because you had a director with 8 who's like, I don't like any of these ideas. I'm gonna do my own thing. Then they rehired JJ from 7, and he's like, well, I did like those ideas, so I'm gonna undo what you did in the finale of this trilogy, and hope I have enough time to like wrap all this up. It was just super underwhelming.
Yeah. I think my biggest gripe with it was I was like, okay, this is the same company that has like Marvel movies where they had like a whole outline and plan of like, at least for like the first like 10 years with like the leading up to Avengers, right?
Yeah, Infinity War. They knew, an Endgame. They knew they had a rough plan. And obviously there was some bumps in the road, but like they stuck to it for the most part, and it paid off like tenfold. Like that's called like, respecting the filmmakers that came before you, because I feel like this sequel trilogy, they made so much money, but they just cashed in on the hard work that all the previous filmmakers put in to get this fan base on their side.
Right.
To where like obviously people are going to go out and see a new Star Wars movie, but I just wish it could have been higher quality.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I'll be one of those people that say I did like concepts in The Last Jedi. I thought they were interesting, but the thing that made me then cynical about it is because then the third one basically is like, just kidding about the second one, and like you said, there was no plan between the three, and then you're like, Palpatine's alive for some reason. I'm like, well, this just feels like wasted time for me. I invested all this into like I'm right. I'm like, okay, the first one, great, retread, sure, why not? Great new character. Second one, interesting. I thought it was different from like the traditional, Death Star and all that kind of stuff, and maybe it could have done some tweaking with some of the characters, like I kind of like Luke Skywalker, like in that direction personally, but again, then they went in the last one with like, well, now we gotta save face, basically kind of rewind, and so I just didn't like that there was no plan.
Finn was an interesting character, and then he just went on like a side quest. Like in the third or the third movie,
the third
one,
like,
in the casino or whatever.
Oh yeah, or that was the second one, I think.
That was the second one.
Oh yeah, the second one.
There's kind of been a lot of discourse online about, because people have been rewatching. I think The Force Awakens is 10 years old this year, just crazy.
That's crazy.
So wild. But there's like a lot of discourse because they're watching that movie again, and they're like, Finn has got to be one of the biggest fumbled characters of the entire Star Wars trilogy, to where he's doing like his own thing in Episode 8, which kind of like takes away from that one because it's not really the main plot point. It's about Rey training with Luke and Kylo, trying to like just ignore, like let the past die and whatnot. Finn's just doing whatever side quests with the rebellion. And then the third one, he's just clearly left on the back burner. He's just like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because you watch that first The Force Awakens, they set him up pretty well. Like he's like the first character you're almost introduced to.
Yeah.
Right.
Phasma like just dies.
Yeah.
It's Chuck.
Like off-screen character. Let me ask you this: what do you think of the prequel trilogy?
I'm not a big fan of the prequels either. I can understand people having nostalgia for them and loving them.
I think that's what it is, right? Like, because now there's this whole revisionist history. I'm like, you can't tell me you guys did not shit on the prequels, and all of it.
Absolutely,
it's great.
I stand on that. I still, obviously, I think I enjoyed them when I was like a little kid, but I didn't really get them. I just like that there was so many lightsaber fights. Yeah, and then I remember when they re-released the Phantom Menace in 3D. I think I was maybe like in like middle school or something, or I was about to get into high school. I was like, oh yeah, I love that movie. Let's go watch it in theaters. And when I saw it again, I was like, this whole movie makes no sense. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. It's about boring taxation of trade routes. And I'm like, there's not nearly as much action as I remember until the very end. And I was like, and everybody's acting is really bad. And then Attack of the Clones, I think, is even worse.
Yeah.
That movie is just that one's rough. The love story, I think, can be fine, obviously, in a science fiction action movie, but that dialogue, George Lucas just doesn't know how people talk in real life.
Yeah, apparently not. He has to enunciate everything that was in Anakin Skywalker's head,
Yeah, he's got to talk about sand and how he doesn't like it. and then Revenge of the Sith. I think Revenge of the Sith has got to be the most memed movie of all time, at least on my side of the internet. There's so many. I was rewatching it. I saw it again for the re-release. And like every scene, I'm like, there's a meme here, there's a meme there. That one, I think people are more fond of that one. I still think, I've got some reservations about it, but at least it's moving forward. I think the biggest mistake with the prequels is, looking back, I feel like the Phantom Menace is completely useless. The only thing it tells us is where Anakin came from, but other than that, it has no effect, because there's such a big time jump from 1 to 2, where I'm like, I feel like you could have just started at Attack of the Clones, established that Anakin's a Padawan, and then that leads into the Clone Wars, and then make the second movie like during the Clone Wars, and then Revenge of the Sith, like kind of the end of the Clone Wars and the turn of Darth Vader to the dark side. But I mean, what they ended up doing was there's the useless Phantom Menace storyline. Episode 2 happens, the Clone Wars starts, and then it just skips to Episode 3, and the war is already almost over. Obviously, they had the animated show and whatnot, but I feel like that's stuff you could have used on the big screen. I think a lot of that prequel era Star Wars stuff is businessmen like trying to save Star Wars, not from Lucas, but like hearing the fans' complaints, like, okay, we'll just make a show. George, what happened during the Clone Wars? What do we do now? Or like people are complaining about this, put it in a novelization so there's an answer. There's like a lot of that going on. Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah. So what do you think about midichlorians?
I think it's the dumbest thing ever. I argue with my childhood friend about it all the time because he's like a George Lucas apologist and he thinks he could do no wrong. So I'll always argue it's the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, first of all, it's a science fiction fantasy movie. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like, you're supposed to have some of that like mysticism and like, it is like more so of a religion than like a science. I think it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing ever. Ugh.
Yeah, did they bring it up again, or did they bring it up recently? Which show was it that they brought up medical?
Yeah, they said somebody's M count. I think they might have been talking about Grogu, maybe. I could be wrong, but I remember it was brought up somewhere.
One of the recent Star Wars shows. I've gotten overwhelmed with the amount of Star Wars shows and all that kind of stuff, and Marvel and all that.
Yeah, it's become too much, man. I have such little free time already. It's like I can't watch. I'll watch the movies, at least Marvel. I'll watch all the movies. There's a couple shows I'm still behind, but man, I remember I saw the first Iron Man in theaters, and I've tried to see every movie since. I think the only ones I didn't see was the first Captain America and the first Thor in theaters.
Yeah,
but every other one I was there.
I think I saw most of them up until. I know I did, until Avengers, and then I think I also saw Black Widow. I think went straight to streaming, right?
It went streaming like a week after like it was in theaters. I think that's why Scarlett Johansson was like suing them.
Yeah,
because she was supposed to get a cut from the box office, and she's like, if you're putting it straight on streaming, you're just taking away my money.
Yeah,
one of those deals. Which I mean, I could get that kind of.
So I took a break a little bit there, but then. Yeah, I saw Agatha Long. I saw WandaVision. Pretty good.
Yeah, WandaVision's cool.
Did you see Thunderbolts recently?
Yeah, I saw Thunderbolts. I enjoyed it. I thought I can understand why people can kind of get turned off by Marvel now, because if you haven't been keeping up with everything, you're going to just be completely lost.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't watch Ant-Man and the Wasp or Falcon and Winter Soldier, you're going to be like, who are these people? Who's Ghost? Who's John Walker?
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's one of those things where it's kind of gratifying to be a fan, because if you do keep up with that, you're in the loop. But no, I really enjoyed that movie. That's one thing that the Marvel needs, is like so many of these movies get very repetitive once you get like a director or screenwriter with their own, artistic vision of like where we can make this different, make this stand out. That's why I love those Guardians of the Galaxy movies, is they're clearly James Gunn movies. It doesn't just feel like formulaic like Marvel movies, like especially like the Phase 1 origins, like some of them kind of start to get repetitive. Obviously they're all different characters though, but like James Gunn, he has his stamp of humor, like his timing and his writing, and then like obviously his soundtracks that he places in to make them unique.
I agree. Yeah, I thought Thunderbolts was good. But yeah, I guess I'm kind of curious to see where they go from here. I kind of felt like with the reveal of the return of Robert Downey Jr. As Doctor Doom, that did feel a little like, we kind of lost the plot, but they definitely felt like they're not getting the same return in this new cycle of Marvel movies than they did before, and they felt like kind of like a saving face kind of thing.
No, I agree. It's definitely a lot of it's like not admitting defeat, but like admitting like, man, we really couldn't go on without RDJ. We need him back somehow. I personally wish they cast somebody else to be Doom, just because I feel like it's gonna be distracting, the fact that it's RDJ.
Yeah.
So like, are they gonna acknowledge that it's RDJ, or are they gonna just like no sell it? I have no idea. It's gonna be weird.
Well, that's kind of what makes it intriguing, I guess, is to see like how they approach it, because I have no idea how they're going to approach his character.
I'm excited to see the X-Men again.
Oh yeah,
true.
I love a good majority of the X-Men movies, not some of the newer ones, but
yeah. Did you like Wolverine and Deadpool?
I like that one a lot. I enjoyed that one. I think it was super cool to finally get to see Wolverine in the classic suit.
Yeah.
And like just do a lot of fun stuff that like they never got a chance to do, like recreating some of those comic covers with Wolverine, getting to see so many of these like characters that you know didn't get a proper send off or never even got screen time, like Gambit. His movie never even got made. Getting their moments was really cool.
That was great. Yeah, all the Sony era Marvel like characters, like Elektra and all that kind of stuff.
Blade and all those people.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up here, but there were some fan questions that we got. You will probably know who these are from.
I've got a great guess.
Yes. So we do have 3 questions. So the first one is why is it when Alfonso takes photos with the legend Robert Ego Anthony, who has great hair, by the way, does Alfonso grab his butt when Ego clearly doesn't want this to happen to him?
You know why I do that? Because I know he doesn't smile in pictures. And if I do that, he'll make him smile. And
why doesn't he smile in pictures? Is he trying to be hard?
He's trying to be a tough guy, trying to be old grizzled vet. I'm like, he's certainly old. So that's why.
That's amazing.
I wonder who wrote that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna guess probably
maybe Davey Yang, I don't
Mr.
know.
Robert. Here's another one. Is it so? I think this one was from Nick. Is it true Alfonso greased the ropes before the lucha launch? And do you know, like, can you explain from like your perspective how that lucha launch incident went? Were you there for that?
Oh yeah, I was. So for those that don't know what the lucha launch is, it's where, preferably in a tag man or any multi-man, your teammate is holding the middle rope, and while your other partner runs and does a springboard from the second, you kind of push down on the rope and pull up on it to give him a little extra boost. Robert Anthony had the idea that he could do that at the age of 45, even though we all told him it's probably not going to happen. The way he wanted to do it was he saw Bang & Matthews and Latinos Most Wanted do it on a show where they both lucha launched from opposite sides. Davey and Saban met in the air and Saban delivered a cutter. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Ego was thinking when he saw that, but he was like, I can do that. And we all kept telling him, no, he can't. No, you can't. And he's like, you're not going to talk me out of it. We're doing it. You're like, all right, it's your show. You booked us. We'll try it. And I was the one launching Robert. I do the launch completely normal, and immediately I see both of his feet slip off the middle rope. And I'm just thinking, oh no. Exactly what I thought would happen. He just falls down. Saban jumps like 7 feet in the air, falls onto nothing because nobody was there. And then Robert, the grizzled vet, breaks the cardinal rule, the golden rule. If something ever gets messed up in a wrestling match, don't go back to it. Because that's admitting defeat. You're like, we messed it up. We're going back. And then if you mess it up again, you might as well be like 12 feet. You might as well be buried under the body that's already buried underground. And he tells Saban Gage, go back to it. They try it again. They mess it up again. So on the fly, Koda Hernandez grabs me, gives me a pile driver, almost drops me on my head. 1, 2, 3. And I just hear all the boys and see them all up in the balcony, dying laughing. I see camera guy Nick dying laughing behind his camera because he knew the exact same thing was going to happen. He said he knew it couldn't happen. I think he says he had faith, but deep down he definitely knows it wasn't going to happen. And as to whether or not I greased the ropes, if anything, if I greased them, I feel like it would have upped his chances. That's how bad Robert failed at this. That if I did anything to help the ropes, it probably would have helped him out a little bit.
What do you say after the match?
He went straight to the locker room. I was selling the pile driver, and I yelled to Robert to carry me, and he just walks past me and goes to the back. And he got a standing ovation in the locker room from the boys. And he tries to play it off cool. He's like, oh, fuck you guys, or whatever. And he was feeling it. We recorded the podcast right after at Olympia Fields, and we probably bullied him for about 40 minutes straight about it. And he was like, I'm really upset. He's like, I almost wish we went straight to the casino so we didn't have to talk about this. We still bring it up. If you come to an Ego Pro show, I believe we sell trading cards of the picture of Robert slipping off the ropes. You see all 4 of us in the ring. There's some out there where we all 4 signed them. People are trying to get it signed by everybody. It's become quite an underground incident that people have become attached to. Got Robert, he got us all in Botchamania, which is great. We're shared by that bond forever.
That's amazing.
And it's funny. He's like, I know Matthew. I'll tell him not to put it in there, and it's just there no matter what.
Yeah, you don't remember what episode that was, do you?
I believe that's Tupu's in the studio. It's the very first episode with Tupu. It should be around, I think, March.
Okay.
Or yeah, I think so. Or was it April? I don't remember.
I'll look it up.
It's March. Yeah, it's March. It was March. Yeah, it's the Tupu episode.
All right, we got one more question. I honestly forgot who sent this one. It might have been one of the. How big is Davey Bang's ham?
Oh, dude, trust me. I don't think there's not a ruler in this world. It's funny, Davey. We'll joke about it. Okay, Davey. It's his fault because he wears like the tightest like shorts when we train ever, and we're like, dude, like you gotta like get some baggier shorts if you. And it'll be like, well, he thinks we're like messing with him. We're like, no, seriously. But then we're like, it's not a bad thing. Like, if anything, like, bro, you're blessed, dude. I'm cursed. He's blessed.
Like it's got its own heartbeat, bro.
Literally, dude.
Put that thing away.
Swinging below his knees. So it's so funny how he gets it. We'll make that and we'll make fun of him because he has like a really nice butt too, and he gets like mad. And when we tell him that, we're like, dude, it's a compliment. We're like, dude, like people will dig it. Like,
yeah, he shouldn't be self-conscious about that. He should be actually like
be flattered that we're complimenting.
Yes,
yeah. Like those are the things you can't like. Like there's no exercise where you can get a bigger hammer, really, unless you're going under the knife.
Some people wish, exactly. Some people wish that they were born that way. So
Davey's lucky. I hope he's listening so he can hear how lucky he is.
I'll clip it and tag him in it. How about that?
Absolutely. I can't. I got to figure out who sent this question. I know it wasn't Davey.
I'll double check because it went through the email, so I have the email, but I forgot who it was. But I'll let you know. So I mean, we're wrapping up here, but I guess I want to ask what's in the future. So obviously, Freelance versus the World that's coming up near the end of June. What else you got going on?
June, we'll be returning to Black Label Pro in Crown Point, Indiana. Later this month, I'll also be wrestling at the Illinois Gamers Con in Bloomington Normal this upcoming Saturday. What's fun about these shows is we all dress up as video game characters, so I'll be Donkey Kong, which should be a blast. I really wanted to be Mario, though. I'm like, I only got the mustache.
Now you got
maybe him or Wario, whoever, but Donkey Kong's pretty sick. So I'm excited to be Donkey Kong. We got baseball season's going to be going on, obviously. We have more Windy City Thunderbolts games coming. Joliet Slammer's also coming up. Freelance Wrestling every month. Debuting for Ironheart Pro in Minneapolis, Minnesota later this month, which should be fun as well. If you really want to just follow me on my socials and you'll get a good idea of where I'll be. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram at @thealfonso_G, on Twitter at @thealfonsoG. If you want to like and share my promos, it'd be greatly appreciated. Buy any of my merch, whether it be online or in person. I'll talk to you guys however long you want to talk. I love talking to the fans, hearing their stories. So please come meet up.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be at the show. I think we're second row, so we'll be definitely cheering for you to kick Isaiah's ass for sure.
I'll be looking for you. Got some new tights for the show too. It should be fun.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I loved your Metallica tights. Those were sick.
Yeah, those are great. Those I'm really happy with. Ride the Lightning is my favorite Metallica album.
Fuck
So I had to get it done.
Good answer.
Well, now I'm going to have you on another episode and we can talk music. I just want to talk with you about movies and music. That'd be great.
I'd love to. I love talking about it. Koda Hernandez hates it. Koda Hernandez will always tell me I have the worst music taste when in reality it's vice versa. He's totally wrong. He's totally wrong. He doesn't like anything before like 1990 he won't want to listen to.
Damn.
He's like, it's old people music. I'm like, I get out of here, dude.
Right? The Lightning is a goated album.
Yeah.
I love music.
Awesome. Well, that'll be our next episode with you, and we'll figure that out in the future. But that's a wrap for this episode of the Chi-Town Shoot podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.